Yep.
Okay, great.
Well, you were able to send it in an email, right?
No, this is the old one. I'm still waiting for the updated one from Woody, but what I can do is I can send you this older one if you'd like, and you can print that out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll print it from my, email, so
Okay,
email it to whoever and I'll go and print it.
Email to someone directly
okay.
when you get it. Yeah, you may want to zoom out a little bit there, it's like it's too close to it, just zoom out so you can see the, yeah, there we go, that's better.
You think, well, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Sodium hydroxide, a definite or
For future,
if needed.
if needed.
For pH.
Future adjustment, if needed, for the future, just enough room, yeah, so it's not gonna be required, but we wanna make sure if there's any pH changes, just, provisionally, we can have it in for it. Hey, Barry, is that building now oriented as the site plan is? I think it is, right?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Is the building orientation the same way as on the site plan? So I think it is, right?
Yeah, you can see north here is to the, kind of pointing to the right.
You look at your site plan, the front of the building is facing, the. park
Yeah.
Yeah.
The south.
South, yeah.
Yeah, the athletic fields are over here. The parking lot's right here.
Where's the well?
The well is back here.
Right.
Yep. Okay, I just got the updated drawings here. Let me forward it to you, Tom, and then you'll have them to print
All right,
out.
I'll go print it.
Okay. Okay, this is the one that just got emailed here. This is a little bit different here. We were discussing room layouts back here. That's what has been kind of in our meetings this morning.
Where's the circle? Is that circle?
This is just a spot to show you how the filter would move into the building, where it would be, and also just to have one off to the side for maintenance if that was needed.
Okay. Right now, the main entrance to the building looks like it's on the east and west side, and there's a big garage door on the left.
Yeah, this is the roll-up door right here. And this plan doesn't show the windows, but we can switch over to that view as well. This is an older view of the architectural layout. This shows you the, let's see here. Yeah, this shows you windows. Which would be, let's see here.
So the windows on the bottom, what's the
Down
window,
here, yeah, these are windows here.
and then on the side. We got, we can talk about, there's a lot of windows, natural lighted, or,
Yeah,
which one, you want windows in, and.
Perhaps maybe transoms like we do at Eureka, where they're all up on the top.
Yeah.
Just, I don't think there's not windows on the back.
Yeah, no, that's good, yeah. Yeah, that's what we wanna talk about, get you guys into it, and, because I was thinking about putting solar panels, on the roof, So that's something to consider as well,
Mhm.
just to help with the energy stuff. Yeah. But that's what we kind of want to hear, just to talk about options and, you know, what you guys prefer and what we could better. And, you know, again, this is just the first meeting, you know, we can kind of get to the supplemental agreement and, you know, move forward, you know, with the layout.
Mhm.
And then, you know, there'll be another time to kind of, you know, oh, maybe you want to do something different, you know, but obviously we don't want to make too many changes as we get to the design, you know, but definitely you guys think what is important to us, you know, doing the design. So that's what we, you know, so this works about the building layout, and then we're gonna have another one on the process equipment and stuff like that. We'll be having another workshop, you know.
Okay.
Now, what were you saying about those two, the area for the two tanks in the dotted line?
Oh, okay, so those that are like, this just shows that, you know, when they're bringing the filters in, you're gonna be able to bring the equipment in through those doors, right, Barry?
Okay.
And then the other location is if you ever needed to have a, change out the filter, you can put one over there
Okay,
and take one out, you know, just shows you that you have area.
all right, so then let me ask you, is there gotta be any kind of rigging there?
This probably gonna be rigging, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give you rigging, yeah, absolutely. Overhead thing, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt you're gonna ever have to change those filters, but, you know, give you something, and,
You wanna pin it onto that?
yeah, we can put it through that, absolutely.
Put on another copy or?
Yeah, I think it's good, yeah. Have it like this, so you can see it. I don't know, I'm gonna take this, maybe we'll- Well, if anybody wants to see me close, I mean, this is pretty good though, right, on the screen?
Yeah, if it's,
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing,
the same thing, yeah,
fine.
fine. Yeah, but I, you know, let's see if anybody else can act. Is there anybody else that's online? do you think?
Yeah, Woody's
Oh.
coming right now. He should be good.
Let me just. Right here.
Maybe no, Dan,
All right.
Derek Carl coming in.
I did remember to bring these in, so I'll be able to see the screen. That's all right.
But let me know if everybody is in. I don't know who is in or not.
Okay. 5 people are, oh, let me see here.
You have to admit them, I think. Can you admit them?
Yep, okay, here they come.
Very sharing. Okay, well, looks like we have everybody on the call today. And it's 1:00. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Rich. We're glad you're able to join us today. I don't know, I think it's 1:00, so I think we get started. So again, thank you very much for coming today. This is kind of the first workshop for the Berkshire Well project. So this workshop is really to discuss, you know, the building type and building layout, discuss the building systems for the HVAC, plumbing, and talk about the site plan a little bit. So again, just want to note who is on the call today. So kind of Bethel, we have Tom Villa, Kelly Curtis, Alex here, and Justin, and I see Paul from PUC, and also Rich Traden are here for the meeting. Right Pierce, my name is Mary Jedrzejkowski. We also have Barry Parker, who's the lead project engineer. We have Elijah Stewart, who's the project engineer. We have Woody Bailey on call, who's the process designer and tech coordinator. We have Dan Harrison, who is the senior architect. And we have Ted Coleman, who is the lead mechanical engineer on the project. So the first item on the agenda is really the building type and building layout. So hopefully you're able to see the screen. Can everybody see the screen that Barry's sharing, Paul and Rich?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So again, this is a preliminary layout that we came up with based on our, experience with designing similar water treatment plants. Again, this building is gonna be a slab on grade construction, due to the fact that, there's existing groundwater on site is very shallow. It's probably 5 or 6 feet below the existing ground, so there's a lot of groundwater out there. So we don't want to be putting any, type of, tanks underneath the building, because again, it would require, a lot of dewatering, would require special construction to be able to construct this, underground, so we feel that, the best approach for the building type as far as the foundation is just a slab on grade. So that's what you see. You see a single floor building. The building, the way you see it right now, the south side of the building, so the bottom side of the building that on the picture is basically facing the gravel parking lot. So that's, when you come in to the site, that's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see the front of the building there. And the building has, and the brook is on the right, so the brook is on the right, and then the well is on the left in the, I guess, northwest corner. That's where the well is. If you want to orient yourself, that's what the existing, well is. Thank you, Barry. So right now, this building is roughly 60 feet by 70. And this is to basically accommodate the package system filters, which you can see in the middle of the drawing, Barry, when I show the filters.
Yep.
So those filters are located there. So these are the 3 Green Sun Plus filters that pretty much is just a package system that comes from the manufacturer. If you want to zoom out, Barry, a little more. So because of this building, it's, to save cost, I guess, because of the chemical rooms, and the chemical rooms have to be isolated from.
Can you admit that?
Sure. Barry, can you admit Matt to the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Barry, if you have control of that, if you could just keep your eyes on it in case someone else pops on.
Okay. Let's see here.
Okay. Hi, Matt, how are you?
Okay, they should be coming through now.
All right, looks like Matt is here, so I'll continue. I don't know if should I start from the start, or?
If you want to just zoom out on the building
Yeah,
and
zoom on the
give
building.
Matt the orientation
Sure,
again.
sure.
Matt, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, I'm late.
So yeah, we just started, Matt. So basically, we talked about the building. The building, it's a single floor slab on grade foundation. The orientation of the building is, the south side of the building is basically facing the gravel parking lot. The right side of that building, that's where the brook is, obviously far away, and the well is on the left side. And, we recommend to have a single slab building because of the groundwater levels in this area. The groundwater is very shallow. So we don't want to put any tankage or anything like that underneath that building, because again, it would really require, a lot of dewatering, you have to, waterproof the building foundation, anything that you have underneath that building. So everything is going to be located on a single floor, level. And what you can see in the middle of that building, this is the 3 filters, the 3 package filter system that's going to treat and remove iron manganese that's going to come from the well. And we also have, so that's kind of the main part of the building, Barry. If you want to zoom out a little bit more. So the back of the building, what you can see is we have the chemical rooms. And, the chemicals, we're going to have sodium hypochlorite, which you normally use for, disinfection. So that's what we use right now to make well food. So that room is going to be on the left side. And right now, based on some preliminary sizing, we sized the bulk tank is going to be 1,000 gallons, basically, in that room. So you can see you have the sodium hypochlorite room. You see that there's circular tanks, and there's actually a containment wall. So you can see on the bottom there's a containment wall that, in case you have a spill, in case you have that leak in that tank, that spill will be contained within the containment wall. And then this room has a double door to enter through that door. And then you have a shower and an eye wash station on the right there. You can see the eye wash is some station right there. So, there's a spill, something like that, you have that handy. That's required by code. The next room over is the sodium hydroxide room. And this is really for pH adjustments. Right now, you don't need to do any pH adjustments, but we feel like if you need it in the future, I think it's good chemical to have. And then we also have a phosphate room for any corrosion control in the middle. So the phosphate is basically used to control, pH in your water. As you send to the distribution system, you're using the phosphates right now in the Maple Avenue wellfield. So we will be using probably similar quantities of that chemical. And then what we also show on the right, it's called the utility room, but it's really, we don't want to call it an office. It's really like an office, okay? It's going to be an office, but we want to call it utility room because if you have an office, then you need to have a bathroom and everything else. But if you call it a utility room, you don't need to have, a bathroom and things like that. And then also in the back of the building, we have the mechanical blower room right there, you can see. And then on the right.
Excuse me, Marius, real quick, if I can interrupt.
Go ahead, yeah.
Pete Quarren, I think, is trying to get in if the organizer
Got
might
him.
be in and let him in.
Got him.
And Marius, as you go through these final rooms, you might jump over to the option A, which shows a slightly different organization where the rooms are broken out.
Okay.
Some last
So,
minute.
if you want to talk about those, because you barely worked on them, so maybe you kind of have a better idea what you guys did, so.
No, you're doing fine. Everything's the same. It's just, we kind of divided the room a little bit so that the utility room is all by itself.
Okay, I see that on the right, okay, yep.
Yeah.
Meredith,
Right.
when do you want some comments after you go through the layout?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can ask questions right now, Rich. We don't need to wait till the end. I think, you can give us comment in the end, or if you have any questions or comments, you can give us those comments as we talk about this stuff.
Well,
All right,
Can I just suggest, Marius, if you go through the rest of the rooms,
Sure.
and then we'll pause there and I think take any questions on what we heard. Does that sound okay,
Okay.
Rich?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so this option, second option, what you see here, it's a little bit different from the first one. So here we basically separated the mechanical blower room with the utility room. And I think that might be a better way to do this because you don't have any noise coming from the blowers, the blowers. And, the blower is only going to be working when you're doing backwash cycle. Basically, what they do is, only when you backwash it.
Because you're adding air.
You're adding air to kind of stir up the media. So they're not going to be on all the time. It's only, basically when you're doing backwashing with the filters.
Mhm.
So they're not going to be on all the time. This is, before you actually do the backwash, the air is going to basically stir up the media. So the water can get in there, because it could get pretty compacted, as you're going through it. So go to the right, Terry, and then the last room on the right is the electrical room. It's going to be a separate room with all the electrical equipment, and as required by code, we have the doors to enter from the inside of the building, also from the outside, just to be able to evacuate that room. And then as far as the orientation, so right now you can see on the bottom of the building there. Right now we're not showing any entry doors on the bottom there facing the field. So on the left side there was a garage door, oversized garage door. You can actually use to bring, you can have to use it to bring the filter equipment and maybe any other larger equipment you can use. And then you have a single door north of that to be able to access that building there. That's the other door. And then we also have another door on the right side or the east side of the building there, if you want to zoom out, to enter the building. And again, this is very preliminary right now. This is just, so we can get input from you guys. And then, we obviously, the type of the building, because the chemicals areas have to be self-contained. The part of basically the filter room, which is the bigger part of the building, is going to be a metal prefabricated building. And then the chemical rooms, the utility room, the electrical room is going to be a block construction. Dan, do you want to talk about it a little bit? How would that be done? We have Dan, who is our architect.
Yes, I just, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, if the main filter room area is a metal building, the chemical storage areas on the other side of the wall basically would just be a concrete block wall construction. We're building them out of concrete block anyway, so there's no point in providing any kind of a steel frame for it. And then the roof construction would just be loose framing, whether it's wood trusses or steel joists. We haven't quite determined the best approach yet, but it'll be a fairly simple shed roof construction, which would be fairly economical. And then the building would all be sheathed in the same kind of metal panels and roof panels that the rest of the building would be.
Okay. And the overall height of the building, I don't know, Barry had a chance to talk to them about
I think-
that a little bit.
We're on the order of 20-ish feet, 24-ish feet. I know it's below zoning, so that's fine. I think we're tweaking the exact height right now based on getting a decent roof slope and providing enough clearance inside the chemical rooms for the equipment. So we're looking at something on the order of a 12-foot ceiling in the chemical rooms to allow for the piping in the tanks, and the roof, it rises up from there. So it's not a huge space.
Barry, do you want to switch over? What is the chemical delivery? So all the chemicals are located basically in the left corner, and so we're basically showing pull stations outside the building. You know, the typical chemical pull stations to fill those chemical rooms. And again, I think, Tom, you're gonna be talking to the chemical delivery guys to see, you know, what volume they'll be able to deliver, but right now we're gonna have those, you know, basically those chemicals to deliver from the outside into the building, you know, if there's a tank delivery or, you know, so it's gonna be all packed up to those tanks, there's gonna be bulk tank and day tank, and those could deliver, you know, basically, you know, the delivery guy won't have to enter the building, you know, depending on the volume. So, obviously, the operators have to be there when those get delivered, and we'll make sure that, you know, everything works. But that's what we show right now. Do you want to switch over to the architectural drawing, Barry, so we can talk about, I know Tom Villa had some suggestions. Go ahead, Tom.
I know Rich had a question,
sure,
but
yeah.
before we get too far away from that basic footprint, do you want to take any questions at this point?
Sure.
Yeah, well, going back to the utility room where you were talking about, you know, possible office or something. I mean, you are putting a sewer ejector pump in there to get rid of the wastewater. Why not just put a little small bathroom in there? So if you do have anybody working there, they don't have to leave to go to use the bathroom. I mean, the cost of a small bathroom is not that much.
Okay.
And to wash hands and stuff also. That's one comment. The other is the orientation of the building. Why not just have the driveway in the front so you can, you know, not necessarily have a driveway go all the way around the building. I see in one picture it just went halfway around, then another one looked like it went all the way around.
Yeah, yeah, Barry, you want to bring out the site plans that Rich talked
Sure.
about? Yeah, those are just options, so, you know, we want to talk about those, you know, talk about the site plans. So this is the first one.
Right, that looks like you got a driveway going all the way around the building.
That's correct.
I mean, is that necessary? Why can't we just have a front entrance to it down there? Is there going to be a fence around the building also?
Yes, there's gonna be a fence. Yep, absolutely.
Well, if there's a fence around, you're not going to be seeing the building much. I would, you know, maybe orientate it a little bit more so you don't need all that driveway to go all the way around the building. That's one comment. The other comment is, are we above the 500-year floodplain with the first floor level?
Right, yeah, it's gonna be a 500 elevation, yes, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So-
yes, you know, the thought behind the driver, you know, I mean, we're not gonna have, you know, it's not gonna be paved, it's probably gonna be gravel drive, but I think you still wanna have some access in the back there, Rich, to be able to get to the generator when you need to, so, you know, it doesn't have to be like a paved drive, it could be just like a utility, you know, access in the back, and, you know, we don't need to go all the way around there, we could maybe go up to the generator on either side, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, to still make a drive all the way around it adds cost to the project. And, you know, I would recommend that we still also put a small bathroom in there.
Sure, yep,
Seeing how you have a sewer ejector pump there anyway to get rid of the wastewater, so.
yep, okay, yep, no, we can,
And you mentioned in the chlorine room there, don't you need a second means of egress out of that room
Dan, I don't know if you want to
because
comment
of
on
the
that.
chemicals?
I was not aware of a requirement for a second means of egress. The
Well,
room is
yeah,
below a certain size.
if you just double check that, because of the chemicals in there, you might need a second means of egress.
Okay, we'll confirm.
Okay. And you had mentioned the wall between the containment where the chlorine room is concrete block. What's the construction of the rest of the building?
Well, it's gonna be metal frame building, so it's gonna be like, you know, basically metal frame building.
All right.
Filter room.
Just
But the block, Rich, is gonna be covered with a metal, I guess, skin, so the whole building is gonna look the same. You're not gonna have the filter room, you know, with metal on the outside. We're also gonna put the finished metal on the block building. Is that correct, Dan? That's what you had in mind?
Yeah, the metal, the filter room is basically a metal building construction, and then everything above the dividing wall is concrete block. And the exterior, we're planning on insulation and then metal panels to match the metal building.
right. All right. But just so I can clarify, the chlorine room is entirely block
Correct.
walls. Right.
Yes.
I'm just looking for corrosion problems with the chlorine and the metal and stuff. So it is all block construction.
Yeah, those are the two separate room, Rich. You can see the big, the one big triangle is the metal building where the filters are, and then the blue one is the black building
Okay.
with an exterior metal. Symmetric.
Well, do you really need block where the electric room is and the utility and the mechanical room is?
Dan, I don't know if you want to answer that. I don't know.
Well, for the small size of this building, I really don't see a whole lot of economy in doing any other kind of construction for those few rooms. Concrete block is a pretty good choice for things like the electrical room, and again, it's a very, very small amount of area, so introducing any other kind of framing, I think, would not be the most economical.
All right. Well, I'm just throwing things out.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for today. That's just, any comments are welcome, and just brainstorming, and we're gonna make this project better. So appreciate that.
Regarding the bathroom, would the health department
I
have
have to
any,
check on that.
have any issue with
Yeah.
that? We have the sewer ejector, so basically the backwash water from the filters is gonna go out to the backwash tank. And then we're gonna recycle that water back in, but then you're gonna have to pump the sludge from the bottom of
On the
that
bottom
tank
of the tank.
out to the sewer.
That's right.
Does that have to be separate from the sanitary sewer portion?
Well, that probably has, the sanitary sewer portion has to be separate. It's gonna be air gap between them, because you can't really mix the bathroom with the, because you don't want to contaminate your backwash tank.
So there may be some requirements as far as a bathroom goes, Rich. I'm not opposed to a bathroom by any stretch.
But we'll double check it with the DPH and see what we can do with that. Yep, absolutely.
All right.
One question I have, like that mechanical room looks pretty sizable for just a blower. You guys, where's the HVAC equipment gonna be? Is that all in there?
Well, we have Ed here on the line. I don't know if Ed had a chance to look into that yet.
Hi, this is Ted. So we have started looking into options for heating, cooling, and ventilation for the whole building. And for the mechanical room, it's actually a good size, because with some of the options we're looking at for heating, both for heating the building and domestic hot water heating, we would be looking potentially at gas fired equipment. We would have water service entrance, we would have sprinkler service entrance, all potentially in this room or elsewhere in the building, but it does take up a lot of space, unfortunately. We did look at options, which I think we with option B, we had an L-shaped room with the utility room, but we're still kind of figuring out the overall layout that would work best for the building. And that, it will change depending on what happens with the bathroom or not.
You just said gas. Are you talking about propane or are you gonna bring natural gas all the way in?
So I know we were looking into bringing natural gas in since the roadway's being torn up anyways to bring in some service. So it would be the most energy efficient system versus doing electric heating throughout the whole building.
Well,
So-
the only thing is, I don't know if there's gas out in the street. It's further down.
Okay, yeah, I know Barry was taking a look into that to see where it was available and how we could potentially do that. If it's an option, we would prefer to do that. And if not, we can do electric. It's a big energy usage.
Well, you could use propane if we had to, but what type of heating and cooling? You going to do hot water heat or hot air?
So we typically do hot water heating and do unit heaters throughout, and then we can do hot water coils on the inlets for any supply air coming into the building. So it'd be kind of a combination of two, but it'd all be served by a hot water system. If we go with gas, gas or propane. I'm just gonna say gas in general because we can, make that determination a little bit after. But if we go electric, we would probably just do individual electric unit heaters. And we would have to look into the sizing of, potentially electric heating coils on the inlets of the supply so that you're not bringing ice cold air. Or we size the unit heaters to meet that demand.
Ted, what I'm hearing out
I
on,
wouldn't recommend electric heat. At
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, it's not the, best solution, which is why we look to do gas in some form most of the time.
Okay.
It's a big building to be doing full electric.
Ted, what I'm hearing is out on Plum Trees Road, there's natural gas may not be there. The police station that's located to the west has propane. And when you come up the driveway, just to the west is the Park and Rec building. I'm hearing that has propane also.
Okay.
So you'll have to check with Eversource, of course, to see if they have gas.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll if that's not the case, we'll look into potentially doing propane, or we'll figure out the best option for it. They do make VRF systems with refrigerant and using heat pumps, which are electric. They do a bit better handling of large space heating and cooling, but it's still a big electric draw, and they're a little bit more costly.
Yeah, I hate to be dependent on Eversource to heat that building with electric.
Yep. Okay, so if that's the case, we can definitely look into propane. Once again, Barry can kind of.
Ed, quick question on the heat pump option. Would that help at all with dehumidification? Is that something we're considering here?
No, we would do more localized dehumidification. The heat pumps don't really have the capacity to do full dehumidification of the space. They're primarily good for just heating and cooling. With cooling, there is some natural dehumidification, but not a lot.
But there's no open tanks at all in this building, correct? So you shouldn't have a lot of humidification in the building itself, other than natural. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, there's no open tanks inside the building. However, the filters themselves, which, they're big metal filters, so they're gonna get cold and they might sweat a little bit in the summertime.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, unless you have a fully treated building, there's just gonna be the natural dehumidification of whatever air is coming in or is in the building. And that can rain, you know, on a hot summer day, that can be quite humid. And if you have cold pipes, it can cause condensation. So we try to dehumidify, you know, some, just to keep that down.
Tom, wasn't that a question? I didn't go on a tour of that plant, but wasn't that a question that they brought up that during the warm weather, they get a lot of condensation going on?
Yeah, I think they did.
So we should treat that too.
Yep. Yeah, and dehumidifiers will, you know, you can have, you know, ceiling hung or, you know, more localized dehumidifier so that we're not necessarily dehumidifying the entire building where we don't need to.
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
The hypochlorite, sodium hypochlorite and sodium hydroxide, I see fill stations. Now, is the driveway adjacent to that?
Yes, the fill stations would be, if you're looking at this plan here, would be approximately right here and here on the outside of the building. And so
Is that how is that delivered? Is that dry or is the sodium hypochlorite come in liquid form?
liquid form.
Is that by tanker?
Yes, it would be a tanker that would fill up with a hose.
Is that then? What's the? I would assume it's something like a 18-wheeler coming in there, correct?
I don't think it's that large of a tank, Marius. I don't know if you want to submit.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Or is it like a fuel oil truck?
Yeah.
It'd be like a fuel oil truck, I believe, Paul.
The question comes down to maneuverability. I know Rich says, oh, let's reduce the size of the driveway, but can you maneuver that around a curve that easily, or is it easier to just drive around the building?
I think that's why they showed one of the options with the driveway circumventing the building.
Right.
So the delivery truck could come in, stop in the rear, fill up, and then continue on out around the looped driveway.
Yeah,
So I think that's an option we got to think about.
that's the first thing that came across my mind. And Tom, you know, we talked about at one of our PUC meetings, the fact that, you know, in the future, we don't know what the future is going to bring relative to additional filtration. And I just raised a question at the time. Would it be advisable at this time to perhaps consider an additional 120 square feet or 150 square feet just for additional filtration in the future?
Well, I'll let Marius jump in here, but I guess the size of the filters are based on the full 800 gallons a minute that we're going to pull out of the ground. I don't know that there's going to be any need for other like sand or carbon or any other kind of filter media. The green sand filter, it's a multimedia.
It's a multimedia filter, yep.
It's a good point, Paul. I think we'll have to think about that, and I don't know that there's any other stricter filtration requirements for groundwater like you do for surface water.
Right.
Well, you know, it's cheaper to do it now than later. That's my only question.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we sized the treatment equipment, Paul, you know, we tested for PFAS, we tested for all the emerging contaminants, you know. The only one other type of treatment that you might want to put in, maybe it's for hardness removal, but that, again, the hardness from this well is very similar to the hardness of the Maple Avenue well. So that's a totally different treatment, you know, that we need to have an add-on to that side, but, you know, for what you need it for right now, and, you know, looking into the future, I mean, everything is sized for the full capacity of that well. So we would not see any other need for making the building larger. Barry, you want to go back to that building layout? So what we show, yeah, go to the filter, so the filters are in there, so I mean, what we show in there, you can see the two circles in there. So we kind of do provide some additional room next to those filters if, you know, there's a need for, you know, any time you need to, you know, take those, existing shelves out of service or repair, which I don't think you would need to. But again, there is some room in that building to add any, you know, potential additional filter backflow if needed, but, you know, everything is sized to meet the flows for the wells, for the loading from iron manganese, so, you know, I don't anticipate any other equipment needed for the treatment at this point.
Okay,
that's
okay.
a question,
Like I
Paul.
said, I'd rather raise the question now than coming back, 5 years from now and say, if we should have.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry, go back to the site plan, to the layout. You know, we are kind of limited a little bit to on that side because you can see the orange line is the flood, 500 flood elevation. So we put the building kind of outside of the 500 flood elevation. The blue is 100 flood elevation. So everything is going to be designed to meet that 500 flood elevation, you know, at that site. So there's really, you know, I mean, we have a little room to the side or to the back, you know, a little bit to expand the building if needed to be, but at this point, you know, I don't anticipate any need for that.
While you're mentioning that, and as I'm looking at that map, where you show the underground backwash water storage tank, Barry, can you just kind of highlight that? Just with your cursor, yeah. So there's some dark brown to the left of that. So that would be to the west. One thought might be we move that tank further west, and that could leave us some room to expand that building if, gosh forbid, we ever have to do something. Now we didn't sandwich ourselves in there and put that tank in our own way. So that's just another thought I'll throw out there for people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Again,
Well, that's a good,
you don't want to build a building anticipating an addition, but you know, at least if we left ourselves the room, you know, you have the option. I like to have flexibility wherever I can.
well, Tom, we had talked also about a backup well. Where would a backup well go on that property?
We'll be probably close to that existing well, you know, I mean, that's where we found the water, so it would go close to that well, you know, like the backup well has to be located, I think, within 50 feet from the existing well, like we did at the Mayflower well field, Rich. So, you know, if you draw a circle around the existing well, Barry, you know, the blue well, 50 feet, that's what the,
Brookside?
yeah, I mean. you
Why
could go
is that
around
so
that
far?
side,
Why
yeah.
is that so far away from the building?
No. Barry, if you draw a circle around that, no, not there, right? You're gonna put the circle there. So he's just doing the circle, I mean, yeah, that's 120 feet, yeah.
Yeah, so if I center this on the well here, here's about your 60 feet.
Yeah, so, you know, the new well will go, you know, obviously, you know, somewhere within the area there next to the existing well, you know, within 50 feet from it.
No, Maris, I was talking about the other backwash tanks. The underground backwash tank, the recyclable tanks.
Yes, right there, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Why is that so far from the building?
So that tank has to be located 200 feet from the well, Rich, because.
Oh, okay, all right,
Outside the
okay.
center radius.
okay.
Because, yeah, and I think we're gonna have the same thing with the ejector pump as well. That's gonna have to be located, you know, outside of that 200 foot radius. And then what
Okay.
do we have? We're gonna have like an air gap, right? Before we get to the sewer and Barry?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right, that answers the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Now, good question. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Rich. What I'd like to do is switch over now to the architectural plan. Maybe what we have another plan that shows architectural layout. What we want to talk about is, windows. You know, I know that Tom had a good idea that we can discuss today, whether it's feasible and worth putting maybe solar panels on the roof, because that building is facing south. So, you know, that's something that could be considered if the town was up for it. So Barry, do you want to describe where we have the windows right now and, you know, and I guess I've already heard from Ed over here on some of the window locations, so Ed mentioned, you know,
This is Dan. Basically our plan is to provide windows around the perimeter to get a decent amount of daylight in. We're thinking that these windows would be high up on the wall. We really don't have any elevation studies yet because we've been still talking about the roof, you know, the ceiling heights in the space. But so also for vandalism prevention, we expect that we would locate the windows fairly high up on the wall, so there'd be a decent amount of daylight coming in for when people are actually working in the building. I know a lot of our clients do like to see daylight in their spaces. And we're showing a window over in the utility room / office. As far as any other spaces go, we don't really plan on putting any other windows in.
and then we also have the overhead garage door on the left, right? Yeah,
Yes, that would just be a regular insulated coiling door.
and I know there's a question about skylights, I think Kelly or Ed had suggested maybe, or Tom, skylights, I mean, you know, we could do skylights also, but I guess, Dan, do you have any comments on a skylight, any issue with skylights in the future? With water getting in them, with a metal building?
Well, for a building like this, it's not occupied on a daily basis. And in our view, you know, skylights, well, they're nice for daylight, but they're also, you know, it's another opportunity for water leakage. I'd be less inclined to want to put them in here. You know, if we have large pieces of equipment that need to be hoisted out, we do skylights in buildings. But in this particular case, I think the windows by themselves will provide a decent amount of daylight. If there's a very strong desire to put skylights in, fine. Skylights would also interfere with any solar panels. This roof has, you know, this would be a nice broadly sloping roof with, you know, a shallow pitch, and it's nice, just a nice flat area. So if the town was interested in doing solar panels, to the extent you could keep the roof clear, that's always a positive thing. I don't know if someone has strong opinions about a desire to put skylights on, but I would not recommend it in this particular case.
No, I agree.
Yep, I'm a fan of solar panels too.
I agree also, but you know, relative to the windows, since this is sort of a remote area, can we use some sort of hardened glass that's you know, the kids won't throw a rock at?
Well, I guess what is your vandalism quotient? Glass. I would.
I don't know, but you know, the thought just occurs to me that, you know, this is sort of way out there in the back of the woods.
You're gonna have a fence around it too, Paul.
Yeah.
There's also security screens on the window, you know, would be an added expense. I don't think any glass product would do the job. Any polycarbonate or glass product will begin to show scratches, and it'll become fairly unsightly fairly quickly. So if security is a huge issue, screens or just doing the fence around the building.
All right.
Is that layout now looking different than the other two that we just seen with the rooms in the rear?
Yeah, this layout is an older version than this layout here.
Okay, I'm confused as to which one you guys are really proposing at this point.
We're looking at this option and wanted to discuss also some of the things that are different with this option as well. This shows.
Yeah, we don't have the windows shown here, so we're going to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. Because we don't have the windows on here, there's, you know, another view for the windows, but, you know, the overall stuff still takes.
I mean, I had questions related to the chemical rooms, which I mentioned to Marius. I guess I'll just mention them here real quickly is, you know, we got to really figure out our chemical usage to figure out if a liquid chemical with a storage tank is going to work for us in terms of like chemical companies and what's their minimum quantity that they're going to deliver. if we're really not gonna go through a whole lot of phosphate, then I don't know that we're gonna get a chemical company to deliver liquid phosphate. We may have to still get it in drums. So before we get too far with finalizing the building layout, even though that's a process question, I think we really gotta, kind of come to grips with how much chemical for each of those chemicals we're gonna use. You don't wanna have it too small where a delivery, either A, is not feasible for the chemical company, or B, it's so small that you have to get it so frequently. So you gotta sort of balance all that out. The other two comments I had about the chemicals, the phosphate room that I'm looking at right there looks pretty small. And I think we are gonna need corrosion inhibitor. So I'm not sure if you're looking at drums for that or,
Drums, yeah.
and so again, it's coming down to how much are we gonna use? And then the sodium hydroxide, I'd really like to have a better handle on, do we think we're really gonna need it for pH control? I'd hate to, give that room a 15-foot wide room as big as it is, and then we don't use it. So I really would like to kind of hone in on what we think we're gonna need for chemicals. Because that's gonna then kind of govern some of those room layouts.
Yeah, we.
Question, I have another question. I believe I heard that you have use for some of these chemicals, or at least hypo at other facilities. And how do you get that delivered if that's true?
We have our Maple Wells, which is probably a 1960s circa building, which probably needs upgrades, but that's another story. Right now, the chemical room in there is so small, we're just, kind of manhandling 55-gallon drums.
Yeah.
So that's how we deal with it over there. We have a couple of surface plants, but we're really kind of in the direction of phasing them out, but they do have more storage tanks, I think, in there.
It's just a side note that what some of the clients do is they'll oversize the bulk tank in a facility like this, and then you can fill some totes to take them over. That way you're buying all your chemical in bulk. Just an idea.
Yep.
Consider. But really good comment. That's kind of what drove some of these changes late in the game, is trying to hone in on the chemical feed.
Yeah, I don't know how much DPH is going to have a say-so about how much corrosion inhibitor, just given lead and copper and everything that they tend to be doing.
Right.
Optimizing corrosion control is like a big
thing right now.
is a big thing right now.
Right.
So I don't know if we can just say the amount we're using at Maple is gonna be the amount we're gonna use here.
Right. It could be more. I mean, the pH are very similar in both wells, so right now I think that the amount of chemical you here is similar to what you normally use in Maple Avenue well, because the white well is pretty similar stuff, iron and manganese. It's not much different. Again, we can make that room a little bigger just to give a little extra capacity as well. But we've calculated those rooms and that's what it comes up to right now. But again, we can take a look at it again and tweak those sizes some more, because I know that sodium hydroxide, you're not gonna need it right away, but we made a provision in the future if you ever need to do pH adjustments, because again, we're gonna run the well, and right now it's good, but if you run it for a few years and the pH changes, you gotta be able to adjust it if you need to. So we definitely wanna keep the room in there, but again, we have to look at the size and make sure we can optimize.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're early on, so I figured let's
Absolutely.
make the comment.
Absolutely, thank you, Tom. Yep. So you wanna go to the site plans again? I'm just gonna look at my agenda here. So we're talking about the architectural, Dan, what size of the windows do you be looking at? What are the typical size of windows for this type of building? I don't know, is there standard, or would you do like a study to determine how much light is getting into those windows, or what's the typical size?
Well, for a building this high, this size, we'll probably do something like 3 or 4 feet high and 7 or 8 feet wide, with a couple of windows per opening. We'd have to take a look at the elevations. We're probably not going to do daylight studies to figure on the light levels, but if the window is higher up on the wall, I'll try to put the windowsill, 7 or 8 feet above the ground so nobody can reach it, and then see what space is left.
Okay.
So it's more of a rule of thumb thing.
Typically fixed windows or windows that we would open and close?
At this point, we would imagine them fixed unless you have a compelling reason to want to operate them. That's sort of a judgment call. Most of the time, the windows we put in these facilities are fixed because nobody's around to really play with them very much.
Yeah, I got it.
Marius, I might ask another quick question. I
Sure.
completely catch the feedback on the interest of solar panels. But to that extent, if there is a great interest, would we consider orientation of that roof? I think the potential longer, flatter roof may be facing northwest. Not that the front roof isn't large enough probably for a big array, but if that's something they're interested in, it may drive orientation of the building.
I just made the comment about solar to Marius, and we really haven't discussed it. So I think that's something, we can hear from our commission in terms of their interest in that. Not that we have to decide today, but just something to kind of, keep in our minds.
Hey, Tom or Meredith, the generator is if we go with diesel generator, does that have to be 200 feet away from the well?
No, because we're gonna provide, basically a belly tank under the generator is gonna be, double wall contained, so.
Double wall, okay.
Double wall contained with leak detection, DPH is okay with having a diesel generator, but that's a very good question, Rich, thank you.
All right, so getting back to the driveway that goes all the way around, is any consideration of reconfiguring the building where the door entry is and stuff, and the fills for the chemicals? I mean, you can't have a gravel driveway because you got to plow it and maintain it during the winter. That would have to be paved. So, if you want to do a cost estimate of what all that driveway costs.
Sure.
Commissioner Rich, are you referring to perhaps like mirroring the rooms inside so that perhaps the chemical rooms are on this side?
Yeah, maybe just flip-flopping the design,
Yeah. So the chemical rooms are here and then the filters are over on this side?
Well, just where the parking lot is, make that the front of the building so you're entering the garage door right there and put a fill station on that side so you're not looping around the whole building. That's something I was thinking of.
Well, the only other thing, Rich, we got to think about is like a well driller getting back there to the well to do any service, and they got some sizable equipment. So I know what you're saying about.
Yeah, well, that could be a gravel pathway or something from there. I agree. You need to get to that wellhead if you have to pull it and stuff, but I don't know. Throw us a number of what it's going to cost to do that road work around there.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rich. We have a 1,200 foot long driveway coming in from Plum Trees Road. I don't think we were inclined to pave that whole thing either.
Yeah.
It's relatively flat. It may not be optimum for plowing with the gravel, but I envisioned it being that close to the wetland and being relatively flat. I think we were envisioning it being gravel. I think the wetlands people might be inclined for that as well, too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you create a service area, then creating more runoff and stuff like that. So I think, I think that was the intent, Rich. And I think there's different type of gravel. I think there's gravel made again, that it's actually very fine, that it really hardens and it gets compacted. It's really, it's not the same as pavement, but it's made to be plow now, because we've worked with other water companies and they have those type of driveways, gravel driveways, a smaller stone. It really gets harder to compact it over time. And, it's not too bad with plowing, actually. So, it just, depends on gradation and, putting a driver on the building, it probably wouldn't add too much cost to the site. I think there was already actually a drive around that site, because when you get to the well site, you can actually drive. There's actually road already made almost around the whole building there. We just need to add gravel to it. So yeah, but we'll let you know, Rich, what the cost might be, to
Okay.
add drivers, so you guys can decide.
Marius, this discussion about the drive and plowing and the condition of compaction, it brings up the question we talked about of potentially maybe adding a culvert in that low spot, if that is a concern of the towns, was more familiarity with how wet that gets.
Right. So we know, that this area kind of floods over, because I think, in the past, even now, when the brook overflows there, I think there's a natural low spot right there, and I think the water overflows to the wetland south, right between the ball fields. I think there's a little wetland area you can see right between the ball fields. So, as part of the project, we're considering, Tom, adding like a culvert. So, the water can get on the other side, because that's where the water naturally flows. You can see, from the brook, it flows south to the wetland between the fields. And when you have a lot of rain or a big rain event, that road gets, basically gets flooded. So we're thinking putting a culvert in that little spot to get the water better under the road.
I think the brook, right where you have the word waistline, you have that meander in the brook.
Mhm.
I've seen the water running down that grass and then right through that gate.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't been here that long, but I've seen it running there. You guys are there, right?
Yes, we agree.
So where you're proposing a culvert, yeah, I think it probably doesn't make its way all the way to the
Right,
rear,
right.
but it probably then
No
makes
problem
its way
with the-
right to where you have the word transmission main.
Yeah, so we could put a little, maybe a catch basin there or something to catch the water from the brook and run it down and culvert over to the other side.
And I don't know if we have to raise the elevation of that road in order to
No,
protect the access to get back there.
we can take a look at it. We have the survey now, so we can take a look at it to see what the elevation is.
Since I've been here, I'm trying to think of what storm it was, but you could not get back there.
Kind of right where their power lines are.
Yeah.
It runs right through the gate. And I think it was the brook overflowing. It had to have been.
Yeah, I think it was.
And it's, see how that has that curve to it? It flowed straight instead of curved, and it went right over the top of the grass. I remember it, maybe not last year, maybe a couple years ago, I can remember. And I'm sure we've had multiple heavy duty storms, prior to, that.
There you go.
So, yeah, so we're gonna take a look at that, the flooding. We have the survey now, so to see what the 100 foot elevation is. We have the information to see what the areas are. We're gonna try to come up with something to improve that roadway. It's gonna be good for the parks and recs and also for the ball field as well and the well. So good, thanks, Woody, for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
I guess, so from the general layout, what I'm hearing right now is, we're gonna look at the driveway around the building to see if, how much would it cost to do the whole thing like we have shown, or do we wanna shorten and maybe reorient that building a little bit to make it a little bit, less, driveway, to get back, back there. We had a question about the bathroom, so we're gonna have to go to the bathroom, the chemicals, kind of size those rooms. I've heard as far as the HVAC, I guess, we're gonna look into the natural gas, whether it's in the street, if it's not there, we're gonna try to go to design around the, propane gas versus electric. I think that's the way to go. Anything else like you got any notes from there? Notes, I don't know if you have anything or.
Well, we just discussed the culvert,
Yeah, talking about the culvert, so we're gonna look at that, look at the culvert.
the windows, make sure that the being fixed, and, also having the, so that they won't be able to
Okay, so some sort of protection in the window, yeah, okay.
Tom, I had a question regarding this well over here that you and I were looking at when on site.
Yes,
Is that something that is going to be abandoned, or are we going to just leave it as is?
as far as I know, that was a well for irrigation of that field. And I think what I've learned is there was a water line that irrigates the soccer field, which has been extended to now irrigate that ball field. So my understanding is that well is no longer in use.
Okay.
And there's that little building, which I don't know if that building made its way onto the survey,
I don't think so, I think they.
but you may want to have, if they're coming back, you may want to have them
Yeah,
kind
we
of
gotta,
catch
yeah, we gotta, yeah. give
more of
them
that west side
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
case we want to use it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to answer your question, I think the well is abandoned. I'll have to talk to Eileen from Park and Rec and verify that.
Okay.
That might have been a test well from years ago too, Tom.
Yeah, that little building, Rich, I don't know if you know what's in there. There's like a concrete tank that's like submerged with a lid. There's some piping, there's an electrical feed, and there's a like an expansion tank. So it almost looks like maybe the well that was there fed that little underground tank, which probably ran off a float. And then it must have come on and off as needed.
And Tom, when you talk to Parks and Recs, maybe they have something, I don't know if there's an original plan that shows the underground electric that went to this, because you said there was a meter in there, right? Or service?
Yeah, there was an electrical hookup, and then that very last pole, right where you have the word irrigation.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
There's a couple of risers that come down that pole, and there's a junction box, and at the base of the pole, and then there's like 4 lines that come out of that junction box. And I would think one of them is probably the feed over to that little building, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's, disconnected in the junction box. Then again, it could just be off at the little building. So we'll have to verify all that for you.
Okay. So you're thinking maybe it runs like kind of like this here.
Something like that is what I'm guessing.
Maybe it goes over to the existing pole.
Yeah, exactly. You got transformers on that pole, and
Yeah.
that's probably how they're feeding the electric. And Rich, maybe you know more about what they did out there to get electric.
No, I don't.
But we'll have to verify it the best we can.
Okay, thanks.
That is there 3-phase out to that ball field?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's one good thing then.
yeah, so I think it's a good time to kind of talk about, some of the electrical systems. So there's a 3-phase, Barry, do you know, can you show that pole? I don't know if you can see it with the pole.
It's kind of hard to see here, but it is right about here.
So the intent is because again, this site could potentially flood. So intent is to really have, again, we're gonna have a meeting with Eversource, right? So we will try to talk to them and have another pole closer to the building, go overhead to that pole, and then, the building is gonna drop in with a time-out transforming the building and then go inside the building. Instead of going underground from that pole, I guess, we'll actually go overhead.
That should cut down costs.
Yeah, so we'll have discussions with Eversource again, we can tell them the site floods and we don't want it underground, obviously, so. But yeah, 3 phases there, which is good news, we don't have to run it, and, so again, that's great to have that in there.
Is the yellow rectangle, would that include the generator and the transformer? Is that all kind of on one pad, give or take? Because it seemed kind of big.
No, this is the generator here.
Because that looks to be half the width of the building, so you're looking at 30 feet long.
That's just oversized, because again, I think that you just, to have the space for it, but it's, the generator's not gonna be that big.
I didn't know if you were including your transformer in that same.
No, it
space.
wasn't included, but it's, the size of the generator is, not that big, but again, the transformer is not that big either, so I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's not room on that side.
Tom, I don't know if you have also existing plans of the sewer out here on Plum Trees Road that can give us some inverts for that. I don't think I don't know if we got that on the survey. Let me look here.
Yeah, we have info on that.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like they did get the inverts there. So yeah.
Frame, looks like we got, yeah.
We can get you whatever invert, you know, elevation info that we have.
Okay, thanks.
It looked like it was there, Barry, actually. They were
Was it?
oriented
Okay.
parallel with the road. Invert.
Invert out.
Oh, okay, sideways here. Yep. Okay, they did get it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Woody.
Yeah, and just to the point of the size of the generator, that's kind of a GIS figure for just kind of general layout. We just got this survey yesterday, and we'll be looking at things a little tighter. You might sketch on there a propane tank, since it sounds like that's likely, so we'll have to cite that.
Mhm.
It's the only problem I have. We can always fill it.
Any setbacks with propane tanks to a well?
Not with a propane tank, I think to the building. Probably some requirements for the building, I don't know, I mean, it's gonna be buried anyway, so.
What about that residual tank? Can that go back anymore? I mean, I know right now it's right on the edge of the 500 year flood. Can that go back anymore? You said that's gotta be partially.
Yeah, it's gonna be partially buried, and again, now we have the survey, so we can kind of like talk, I know we talked today, we went over there, and, yeah, we're gonna move it up a little bit more.
He has a stake, he's gonna move it.
Yeah, we're gonna move it, we're gonna move
Because
it
where
up.
the stakes are don't make sense.
No, we're gonna move it up a little bit, yeah.
All right,
They have moved it on that.
now the sanitary, yeah, you're right. I think it was in the middle of the elevation.
Mhm.
The sanitary pump system there, is that gonna be, is that gonna have a steel frame on it? So it can be driven over?
Yeah,
Yeah, all right,
the
okay.
H20, H20 loading, and, again, we're gonna locate it in the right spot, obviously, so. yeah.
Because that's beautiful, that turnaround in that parking space. But as it was brought to our attention, which makes sense, people aren't gonna park there
No,
during the
right,
softball
right.
game.
And what you're seeing there may not ever get built.
Right.
That's their future, you know, wish
Yeah.
list.
Right, the parking area, yeah.
If the town is gonna spend the money on it, then yeah, but that's just from their master plan.
And I think when we do decide where the driveway is gonna go and what's gonna be feasible, I would like to see a slide gate and not a double opening gate. For the simple reason that there's not a gate in the town of Bethel that's straight.
Okay.
At least with the slide gate like we have up at Hoyt
That's
Hill,
close to it, yeah,
I think whether it be one or two,
okay,
I think you can hide that in the middle of the building.
Sure.
Where they slide into.
absolutely, yeah. No.
On your sewer ejector pumps, that'll be a dual system, dual pumps.
Yes, we're gonna have two pumps, one, and, it's gonna be, Rich, it's gonna be very little flow. It's gonna be like, I don't know,
Yeah, but
5-10 gallons
yeah,
a minute. pump. It's gonna
you
be,
got a lag lead and you got two pumps. If one dies, you still got backup.
So if we put a bathroom in, then the sanitary discharge would go right to that.
Right to the, yeah, right.
With its own air gap. I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now you see the green light, so that's the flow drains, everything else, you probably have a separate line, to the bathroom in there.
All right, and now devil's advocate, for some reason, if we ever had an issue with that recycling tank and we had to bring in a Vector truck, if we had ever had a problem with the pump up system, that's gonna affect our production of water.
Well,
Is
what
there-
we're gonna give you, that's a good, very good question, Terry, what we're gonna give you is, we're gonna give you a bypass.
Okay,
So the bypass is gonna enable you to go right to the force main from your backwashing and bypassing your recycle tank.
okay,
So you're gonna have a separate bypass, so in case you need to take the second line for repairs or something like that, you're gonna have another line that's gonna connect directly to the force main and it's gonna go to the sewer.
okay.
Or you'll be discharging everything, you won't be recycling the time, but that's gonna be a short time.
Yeah.
But we'll still be in service.
Absolutely, and then we also gonna do the same thing on the backwash tank, the backwash source tank.
Yeah.
The intent is to have the tank full, that's your backwash source water, so you don't draw from the system. So we're also gonna give you connection from the system.
We can hook up a pump.
Well, you can hook up the pump, or you can actually, use the pressure from the system, because it's gonna be 100 PSI.
Yeah.
You can use pressure actually to backwash your filters, in case you needed to take that backwash tank offline for cleaning, or, like sediment, so we're gonna give you provisions for backup system as part of the design.
Okay, and then my last question is inside the building where those 3 tanks are. I mean, you know, we talked to those people in Meriden and they've never had to take anything out of there.
Right,
But what about rigging if it was necessary to get those tanks out of there? There's enough room to move the tanks around the room,
Mhm.
but are we gonna need rigging some
Get it out.
kind of overhead rigging to get it
Yeah.
out to that doorway?
yeah, I think even doing construction, it's gonna be some rating, so Dan, are you taking notes? We're gonna have to probably figure out, you know, the weight of those tanks, you know, and we have to come up with some kind of support to be able to, you know, take those tanks out of the building if necessary towards those garage doors.
Okay, we'll have to figure on that loading then.
Yep,
How big are those those tanks?
outside the,
I can speak to that. They're just over 12 feet high and they're 9.5 feet in diameter.
Oh, they're large.
They are.
Is that a containment wall around them?
no, that's just the pad, it's gonna be on a pad.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes we put in an 8-inch berm, because if you do have the condensation, it's all kind of going to be around that piping where all the cold water is rushing through and the filters. So what we oftentimes will do is put in a little 8-inch, 4-inch curb with a trench drain running across underneath the face piping and collect it all in a floor drain.
Good idea.
You're also going to have some chemical injection points in these pipes inside there too, so it'll help with that too.
These tanks are what, stainless?
No, they're not stainless, they're just, I forget what they're made of, they're just.
I didn't hear you. Say that again.
But they're steel tanks, I don't think they're stainless, they're steel.
They're probably steel painted tanks, Rick, Paul, my guess.
Okay,
I don't think they're stainless.
all right.
But, you know, we saw the tanks in Meriden, I mean, you know, they're a lot, that lasts a very, very long time, you know. You know, you might have to paint them after 20, 30 years or whatever, but, you know, it's already pretty robust.
The earlier sketch that we got showed like a big rectangular box, which was like the control panel for this system. I'm not seeing it there on the drawing. You had it like right out in front of.
You know, that's going to show the piping.
Oh, I've
Oh,
located.
I see it. Filter control panel.
Yes, that's correct. That's where it's
Okay.
located.
I see it now. Okay, I'm sorry.
It may be a slightly different size, but that's based on the last place we installed these filters and what we showed for space.
Okay. Yeah, that electrical room door can get slid to the east if it has to make more room.
Exactly, yeah. You see the utility room door is kind of in it now as that got changed late in the game here.
Yeah, no problem. I just remembered seeing a box for the control panel.
That's an excellent question because certainly not something we want to miss. One thing that's not shown is there will be a couple analyzers in here, and those haven't been located quite yet either.
Like chlorine, pH, turbidity.
Yeah, the chlorine may bring up a question. I don't know, Marius and Barry, we skipped over it on the site plan, but yeah, pH for sure. I think you'll be measuring chlorine ahead of the filters when you inject it.
Yeah, we'll be ahead of filters and then after filters before it goes to distribution.
Would you pipe all that over to like a common sink, like a common, like, trough or something?
Yeah,
Turbidity.
turbidity, yeah, everything.
Yeah, Woody brought up a good point about the chlorine analyzer at the end where the finished water goes into Plum Trees Road. So if I switch back to the overall view here, I don't know, Marius, if you want to talk about, we were planning on a chlorine analyzer near the end of Plum, where it connects up to Plum Trees
Yeah, I
Road.
think that's something still we have to take a look at, Barry, so I think we can discuss it maybe in another meeting,
Okay,
because we're not quite there yet.
sure.
CT, for CT for conference time, yeah.
They won't just take calculations.
Well, they will take calculations, but like, you know, we need to like show them where it's located too, because we need to be actually taking it from, you know.
All right.
So like, we may have you analyze it, but like, we need to show them calculations and then, you know, you might, you know.
Well, I'm wondering, can we show them the analyzer in the building, what's leaving the building at? And then based on the length of the
Yeah.
flow,
Right.
I'd rather not have an
Absolutely.
analyzer out in the
Yeah,
road.
right, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep, yep.
We'll deal with that
Yeah,
in
we
the
do
future.
that in the future, yeah.
Hydraulic cheaper than putting it in.
Well, if that analyzer is out by the road, how is that information get back? Is it by conduit?
Conduit, yeah, conduit, yeah.
So you'd have to add a conduit.
Well, you probably not at a conduit, you will probably go overhead, you know, there's existing poles there, you could probably use, you know, go overhead with that wire, you know, just lower the electric, you just have to make sure we have a good separation.
Radio.
It could be radio too, so, yeah, but we look into that, Rich, if that's necessary, I'm still working on that.
Well, just, yeah, if you need a conduit, then while you're digging that's the time to put the
Right,
conduit in.
absolutely, yep, no, yep, absolutely.
Hey, I just want to throw out one thing also, because you got to go to planning and zoning with this eventually. You need a little, some trees and bushes probably.
Yep.
Hate to say that, but you have to keep them happy.
Absolutely, yeah, so we'll, you know, we have some landscaping.
What is,
Landscape.
the landscaping you're seeing there is what, the Park and Rec, master plan was showing. That little cul-de-sac circle and all the spaces and all the green plantings on either side of it. I wanted Marius to put that on there so that we can show that we weren't really impacting, the Park and Rec future plan.
Well, yeah, that's fine, but I want to make sure that we're not putting those trees in for that then.
Right, no, but we'd have to, like, you brought up a good point. We're gonna have to show our own landscaping.
Correct.
I got a quick question. It's a little bit off topic, but you've mentioned Parks and Rec a number of times in their wish list. I don't know if they ever considered that wastewater was going to be brought down here. Is that, do they have any desire to maybe be able to connect to that or get potable water?
They haven't expressed anything at this point.
Do they have a septic tank right now? Do they have a sewer? What is their waste storage?
They have a porta john.
Porta john, okay.
John's down there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just considering if there could be a gravity that could feed to that station where we have it located. So just thought I'd bring it up.
So I think we talked about all the kind of major issues here, you know, major items. Gary, did I miss anything or Woody from the agenda? You know,
I think we got the important things from the agenda, yeah.
and then I guess we're gonna have to have a limited fire sprinkler system, so that's, I guess, another reason why we kind of separating the filter roof from the chemical room, because we're gonna limit how much, you know, sprinkle you're gonna need for the fire protection. You know, if you had this whole building open, you have to sprinkle the entire building, but now it's gonna be just limited to the chemical room. And I think it's only the sodium hypochlorite. Dan, I don't know if you've looked into that yet, depending.
I haven't looked into it yet, but that's usually the case.
Yep. So you're not just, you know, basically code requirements to look at. Yeah, we still need to size the generator, you know, but we're sizing the equipment, you know, everything else, and that, you know, we're gonna have another workshop, I guess, you know, we could probably have another workshop, electrical workshop and process, we could talk about lighting inside the room, outside, that's gonna be a separate meeting. Just kind of, you know, what kind of lights we start with, electing outside and things like that.
One quick comment, as it just dawned on me as I'm looking at this floor plan. As you go through all your alternatives, have you taken those 3 tanks and rotated them 90 degrees and put them against that east wall? Will they fit in that space? And will that open up and give us more room in the western side of that building?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't tried it.
Just a thought, even if you had to make that building 3 feet, 4 feet, longer from north to south. If you rotated that thing 90 degrees.
You still probably need to have some room behind it for.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm just throwing that out there. You'd have to take whatever pumps, the recycle pumps you have in the corner, you'd have to maybe slide them over to the west. And I just don't know if that gives you like a fair amount of floor space that could then accommodate a bathroom and so on. So I'll just throw that thought, it just kind of, as I'm looking at it, was wondering.
Meredith, I got one more quick question. That'll be my last question. The outside tanks, I see that they're partially buried. How much are they in and out of the ground?
Well, we haven't determined that, Rich, yet. We just got the survey last night, so we're gonna be looking at that. But again, the reason why they're gonna be partially buried because we wanna make sure that there's a positive head on the pumps inside the building. So again, we just got the survey yesterday. We have to play with elevations, and I can get you the answer.
Okay.
But that was the reason, because we wanna, to put them underground, that you're not gonna have any positive head on those pumps inside the building. So we wanna make sure there's some positive heads coming in so that we can start those pumps up.
And those tanks, they would be concrete tanks?
There'll be steel tanks.
Okay.
There'll be steel tanks, but there will be poly wrap. There'll be poly wrapped and insulated steel tanks.
And size, can you?
40,000 gallons each.
How many?
40,000 gallons.
40,000, so they're pretty large.
They're pretty large.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's about 47 feet long, 12 feet diameter, circular tanks.
Big.
That's to handle the volume of the backwash in 3 tanks.
Okay.
I have one last question for Tom and Marius. We spoke about diesel for the generator and propane for heat. Why not have just one tank propane? As our propane generators?
That's a good question, Paul. I'll let Kelly answer that.
I don't know, my feeling is, the old police department had propane. And as well as up the tower up behind you, that's propane. And it's easier for the town, whether it be public works or utility, to go around with a 100-gallon diesel tank and fill everything up than it is to try to get a propane truck out in a driving storm. That's my concern. I think the idea of diesel fuel, we can supply ourselves if there was ever an emergency, because we do that now. And we never had a way to help out at the police department. I mean, we could monitor how much they used, but we were never able to deliver propane there. You understand what I mean?
I know, because, I got a propane generator
Right.
too.
Right.
But, I've never run out of propane either.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to eliminate one less delivery and
Yeah.
one less truck going up there.
I hear you, Paul, and I kind of agree with your thought. And I also agree, I've always been a believer too. The diesel, now you're at least in control of your own fate. We could get, during Tropical Storm Isaias, we weren't getting a propane delivery probably by any stretch of the imagination with the roads being blocked the way they were blocked. And at least
Yeah.
if
Well,
we
you
have
know,
to get in there with chainsaws ourselves and basically cut a path, we're in control of our own destiny somewhat.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's the reason why, Paul.
That's my philosophy on it, at least.
I know, because in my family, I have a son-in-law who stuck a 1,000-gallon propane tank, I think he fills it up once a year, maybe. Of course, he heats his pool and everything else up with the thing. But, propane's never been a problem as far as, I'm concerned, so. It's just a thought.
Yep.
Maris, when you get your head that you need for those pumps, Can you do the elevation for those tanks so we can
Yes.
see how much those tanks are sticking out of the ground, please?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, one other
Thank you.
option is if we want this tank to be a little bit more in the ground, we can kind of depress, when we have those pumps inside the building, you can see them right now, they're like in the corners. We can have those pumps depressed a little bit into the floor, but again, we would want to do that because of the high groundwater level. So if you get a slab on grade, if we put a pump there, that'll be good, but if we need to depress them a little bit, we can do it as well.
All right. Well, let's see what they look like
Sure,
when you the elevation. Thank you.
thank you, yeah, we'll do that.
Hey, Barry, can you zoom in on the bottom of the building there between the two pumps? We're trying to read that. Green sand, filter blower, okay.
That's one location. We are also considering it up in the mechanical room here.
Okay, so that's an optional location, correct?
Optional location, yes.
And you said that's part of the backwash process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, basically what it does is because the sand is compacted, it kind of, stirs everything up, and then the backwash water can get in and get
I got
into,
It's like an air scour.
well, it's called, yeah. Yep. And that's recommended by the filter manufacturers, so. Okay. All right, well, I think, I don't know if anybody else had any questions, but I think we went over all the major items that were, going for today. We'll prepare meeting minutes and, we obviously have some alternatives to take a look at, so we're gonna take a look at those, but obviously to move the project forward, we kind of wanna, we have to finalize those, so we get that turned on pretty quickly. And maybe we'll do it with, send it to Tom and have discussions with Tom and the team, and Tom can forward it to the PC commissioners, and we can kind of make the final decision. I have some things I have to do, some costs. But I think today was very productive. I think it was good. We got a lot of input from everybody, a lot of good questions, and, that's what we like to hear. This is your project. We're hoping to get it built, and obviously more heads is better, and people have different ideas, and I think this was very productive. It was good for us to hear all the different, comments and questions. Barry, do you guys have any other questions? Barry, Dan, or Ted?
Nope, I'm set. Thank you
Okay.
for your time today.
All
Thank you,
set too.
guys.
I'm also too.
I'm
Thanks.
all,
Okay,
I'm all set.
Paul,
Thank you.
Matt, or Rich, do you have any other questions or comments at this
No,
point?
that's it for today.
I think we did enough for today.
Yeah, as you guys have any others, certainly, shoot me an email and we'll get them back to Wright Pierce.
Hey, one thing I want to say, Rich and I have been on a lot of building committees, but I'm one of the biggest advocates of steel roofs, so consider it.
Sure, okay. Well,
All right, I guess we covered everything.
okay, no, we did, yeah. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank
All
you
right.
today. I'm glad the technology worked and we're able to do this remotely, and the thing worked well today, so that's great. Yeah.
Okay, be safe, everybody.
All right,
Safe, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
You. Bye.